another episode of Rags to Riches, The Refined Mind. We are back again with another episode, and we have
Natalia.
Diana.
Megan. Well, excuse me. So we've been talking about relationships in this series, and we're kind of talking about just how I think it's hard a little bit. You know, like the longer, I think you said it earlier, the longer you're single,
The harder it is
gets
to accommodate
because
somebody else.
I feel like you start, and so what you were saying, because you spent, was it 2 or 3 years, like you had to be on your own?
Yeah.
So you are forced to operate in your masculine energy. And it's like you lose some of your femininity. And then when you get into a relationship, it's like you're expected to like switch into it. But it's like you've built yourself to do that. And I don't know if it's just me who finds it a bit like, I can be a little bit masculine, I think. And then, but it's like, I don't want to be.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be feminine.
Yeah.
But then, like we were saying in the other episodes, like when you have men around that, it's like you're constantly having to do things because, for example, if something needs doing, like a washing needs doing, for example, you're not going to leave it there, or the bin needs changing, like taking out. You're not going to leave it there until it stinks up the house.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. You're going to have to do it because you know,
It's stinking up the house. Every time you open the door, whoo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's important to like be clear that masculine energy or having a man doesn't equate to doing chores in the house or whatever like that, or certain chores, or like taking out the bin and stuff like that. But it is that doing energy, where as feminine, as women, to be feminine is to be more
To be.
baby girl. You know, we're incubators.
To do.
Yeah. And so I think it does grow hard to be interdependent. And you do find yourself, because you are, like you said, used to operating as an independent person. I don't even say woman, just as an independent person. And especially if you're a very like type A type of woman, I know that you are, I am, you seem to be the same. So you're quite like, you're quite
I'll go
straight to it. Do you get what I mean?
Just get on.
And so I know for me, I find myself like, you know, having to kind of catch myself in those moments, you know, even in just like how I even speak to the man that I'm dating, or even just speak to any man. And I love, like, I think my pastor, my prophet, I think he's an amazing example of a man, and I've really found myself really training how to be in the feminine and how to be a godly woman under his leadership. And so even just things like, you know, if I'm going to like another church, I think it's important to kind of like let him know, or if I'm going to like, you know, I'm not speaking at other places, but, you know, so he knows like where I'm going, but also it's important for even him to know as like my spiritual covering. So that I'm not exposed to like weird doctrine and stuff like that. Do you get what I mean? So just like exhibiting that submission, humility. It does take growth.
Because we have such an independent spirit. That to our own detriment. It's like I'm my own person. I'm a grown woman. I will do what I want when I want. But to now submit, especially to have someone it's your covering, it's not your father, or that person didn't birth you. To like communicate, oh, I'm not going to be there on Sunday, I'm going to be that place. Or like, I want to do this, is this okay? Like to get that advice, it's like, ooh.
I think as well, it's the definition of what submission is. I think that's exactly what most people. I'm not submitting to anybody. I think it's the misinterpretation of what it means. Is what submission, as soon as you say the submission, everyone's like, I'm not doing that. But if you understand what it means, exactly. But if you understand what submission is, you probably find submission ain't a problem.
I think that. I think as women, naturally, we're built to, that's in us to be submissive. But I think through the things that we've been through and that, like losing trust in people we've submitted ourselves to, that's made us to be so much more like guarded. And then to be expected to just submit because you're a woman, I think that's not fair. That's where that is the translation becomes a bit, you know, because it's like, well, you're dismissing what I've gone through. It's not that I don't want to be submissive. I've gone through something which I need to break out of, because sometimes you want to, you see ugly parts of you don't want to see. You don't want to live that way. You know, and to have people to condemn you because of your behaviors rather than to try and help you. I think that's quite detrimental.
Yeah, you do need an environment of safety. I think we are happy to submit, like you said, but I think it becomes
in the right
easier
environment
to submit in the right environment.
Exactly.
A woman can be submissive, just like you said, but to who? Any man will just stand up, man, I married you, I paid your bride price, I paid the bills, but we're somewhere, I don't feel like I should be listening to you. Because you're not giving me that energy, you're not showing me that you can be a protective, or you can be a leader, or you can do even little stuff in the house to make me ease up, and I'll be like, she just have to do everything on my own then. Why are you in this house?
Submission.
It's so tricky, because I feel like if because you have to be careful, because you could submit yourself to somebody who is going, like, they could be doing harm to you, but because he's the man. And I feel like a lot of our parents kind of went through that. They stayed in certain relationships, in abusive relationships, just because.
But was that submission? Do we need to separate that sort of, do you get what I mean? Is that submission, or is that like self-affliction? Like, because...
Or was it cultural again? Because you're just told, like, when we were young, you stuck with it. You stay for your children. You do this for your kids. But then you're getting a beating. You're staying for your children. So it becomes what was then, what was okay. And sometimes it was the shame you bring on the family. If you're getting separated from your husband, or whatever the case was, they had to stay in for the sake of whatever was going on in the moment, or in that generation. But
I think ultimately, like, if we are submitted unto God, because ultimately, like, my obedience is unto God. Do you get what I mean? We're submitting because, like, this is like an order and a pattern, like, designed by God. Do you get what I mean? Submission is not the problem, and sometimes I feel like we need to be able to separate, like, what that
means,
what
and
that
what
means,
that is,
and what that looks like. The word of God is our weapon.
Different.
God doesn't want us to be
abused,
or submitting, and I think it's important as women of God, as especially with God as our head and our leader, our Lord, that we follow His direction. Do you get what I mean? So we do not end up putting ourselves in predicaments where we are submitting to the wrong man.
And sometimes, go on.
I was going to say, because sometimes you can get yourself in a situation, God didn't put you in there.
God did not put you there, baby.
Like you're in a relationship and God is like, and now you're being abused, like you're completely losing yourself, and God's like, I didn't call you to that relationship. And so again, then we start defining that's submission, and it's like, no, that isn't it. Like you need to come out of, but maybe you need to go to God for God to intervene. And then we take that, and then we take that on God, and we say, oh, why is this happening to me? Sometimes we have to take accountability.
100%.
And sometimes a submission is different in every household. Every relationship's definition of submission is very different. There might be things that I'll probably find up in your house. I'm like, honey, I ain't doing none of that. And then you come to this.
I'll ask my husband, like, what was that?
Oh yes, we're talking about that.
Like, if
they're having a conversation to make this.
I bring him his food. I bring him the bowl to wash his hands. I ask him if I need to go, if I want to go out with my girls. If he says no, then I'll stay home. Like,
there was just a different aspect of certain things, and some of it are saying, like, some of it culturally. From where I'm from, even though I grew up in the city, there's absolutely nothing wrong with me bringing water to wash my husband's hands and give him. Honey, I'm gonna treat you right. Listen, my mom used to say this: if you treat your husband like a king, you will get a king. You treat him like a boy, you will get a boy. So it's how you treat somebody else. It's just the same thing we're saying. How do you want to be treated? So you can't be expecting queen status, and you're treating him like the busboy outside there. If you
God
treat him
loves
like a
them
king,
too.
he'll treat you like a queen. We can't do vice versa. Like I was saying earlier on, relationships is a two-way street.
Yeah.
You can't be expected to be treated like royalty and then you're treating him like crap. But then you want to be treated, come on.
I
it's
see a
two-way
rebuttal.
street.
I feel a rebuttal.
Part as well is like,
Come on, girl,
that
tell her.
person should understand that she's treating me like a king because of this. If this person doesn't get it,
Yeah.
it's gonna abuse that.
I'm not dating a person.
Most of people don't understand that. Like you said, the relationship is
It's a two-way street.
Two-way street, and then
Which is the reason why you shouldn't be committing to things like learning now that when the older you become, when you're younger, if somebody asked you 10 years ago or 15 years ago, why did you date?
Yeah.
And now why you date?
Yeah.
Back then you probably, the status is different. So now you actually know, like, you know what, if I'm in a relationship and we can't understand each other just on our conversation of, I don't like these things. If you can't clean after yourself, I've just cleaned up the house. Do you mind cleaning up your cup? Don't just leave it in the sink, right?
it should be earlier on.
So, you know what I mean? So you're starting, those things we're talking about, general health. We're talking about these things that are very important conversations in our lives. Yeah. And if we're not communicating, understanding each other, how are you expecting this marriage, after this, to be a marriage, and you can communicate?
Yeah.
If you can't communicate as a girl and boy in a relationship, that's not going to get any better when you're married, is it?
I feel like sometimes people can change. Like, okay, I don't believe that people change in marriage. I feel like they've always been the same person. They've just got comfortable, like they've revealed. They're like revealing their true self. But it's like, okay, you can treat a king, but how long are you going to treat a king that hasn't come into his kingship?
I just
Like,
feel
if it's
like...
a boy, like, are we going to are we in a relationship to be training these guys?
Girl.
Okay, let me give you an example. My dad, sorry. Listen, my dad lost his job, and then my mom was working full time and everything. But my mom would still do exactly the same thing that she did. She'd wake up in the morning, get the kids ready, do the breakfast and all sorts of things. The kids go to school, come back home, come in and do the dinner and everything else. But my dad was, you probably just see him sitting there.
Yeah.
In this day and age, I'm sure I'm like, So you're just sitting. All day. I've been out.
You're not even gonna pick up the kids.
You haven't picked up the kids. You haven't even started dinner. You haven't done anything. But then it was just that, to be able to just continue just doing your normal general routines. Just because it's not working doesn't mean he's not a man anymore.
Yes.
And most likely he's losing his confidence anyway, because what makes him a man is being able to provide. And in this portion, he's not able to. Now you can't be coming out, you ain't paying for nothing in this house, I'm doing all of this. And before you know it now, you are emasculating your own husband. You are now fighting over things that it's just a season, because in as much as you lost a job, you could have lost a job.
Yes, of course.
Things could just happen that could just alter the trajectory of your relationship.
I get
How?
that, but like he was
When
that
you married
man
him.
before, exactly. As something happened that kind of threw him off course.
Yeah.
So that's different. I mean, as a woman, I know some women who have done that,
Yeah.
especially with what's that thing that came that we was locked down.
COVID.
Yeah.
I think that came. I think that came.
virus.
I thought you were talking about a person or a movie or something.
Especially with lockdown, like that
Yeah.
really, you know.
That had to light a light on, because majority of the time people go to work, so you don't face one another. You don't face each other's differences. So you're forced to face one another.
Yeah, exactly. People lost their jobs, like men lost their job. I know that happened to somebody, and you know, he couldn't provide anymore. He couldn't give her the lifestyle anymore.
Yeah.
And the woman kind of turned on him.
Are you
Yeah.
being for real?
It's different if you meet a guy and he's just still a kid.
Yeah.
And then you're having to groom and groom and groom. It's
Mama's
like
boy.
you're not trying to. It's not another son that you're trying to raise.
But the thing is, when you were dating him, you knew he's behaving like that. What are you doing there? You know, girl, you know me. I'm like, listen, out. We're not doing this.
I think also a lot of people don't have the emotional understanding,
Yeah.
emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
To know that when you get into a relationship, this is what I like to say. I'm looking at the things that I want my men
Yeah.
to be doing, or not even just providing for money, but
Just be
need
genuinely
attention.
present. Be present. Yeah.
Be present. So she knows what she wants. Emotionally, she's intelligent.
Yeah.
She's just not gonna not accept any guy who's coming in front of her. A lot of women don't have that. Even mature women, 50, 60.
But I think it's important to like, you know what you want, but it should also come from knowing who you are. And I feel like even with the things that you want, you need to like work yourself up to also become that sort of person. Do you get what I mean? You have to also be postured and also ready to receive that. But then also, I think potential is great. I think it's,
I was about to say
great. Everybody has potential
to be someone,
but they need to be potentied, okay? They need to be potentied. And I think it's so important, like dating, I know has like, it can have a bad stigma, especially in our faith, but I think it's important to date well and date with intentionality.
Exactly.
And not just like, you know, just date and get caught up in like the feelings and stuff that you get. Look at these things, look at these patterns, like these little details, do you get what I mean? And they can become big things. And I think if you look at it and you think that you can submit to that in a marriage or relationship, then
go ahead, honey.
Then go ahead, honey.
But no,
it's okay.
I heard that like in marriage or even like in relationship, it's about what you can tolerate.
Yeah.
Like what your level of tolerance is. Not so much like the love is the glue and that's the kind of it over you, that kind of that's your foundation. But is can you tolerate these things that he's doing or that she's doing? If the answer is yes, then you're going to work, because those things are not going to go away, because no one's perfect.
No one's perfect.
So we can't look for like that perfect person.
I think it's like when it's this way, if the older you get, some of the things you thought were important when you were younger are not important, but then you start being intentional with your relationship. Will I tolerate a boy in this relationship? Honey, I'd rather be single.
What's a boy?
I'd rather be single. Even why are we even calling someone a boy? But no, I just think immaturity, or I think there's things that you know that you don't want in a relationship. You don't want in a man. The person that you're going to call your man, there are things that you don't want in them. You're expecting a certain behavior, certain structures. You know, there's something that you expect. So then why do I have time entertaining things that are not what I'm expecting?
Yeah, a lot of people
I'd rather be single.
Just like, you know, just enjoy the ride.
Yeah, in the 20s, that was fun because you were not thinking anything ahead of it. But now, is you're saying, first of all, if you start thinking about in terms of, you know, being a child of God and relationships, you're becoming a bit more intentional about who you are dating, why are we dating, and worse off now we've got children. I ain't just bringing nobody around my child.
Things that you need to consider.
Exactly. I'm not bringing just anybody around my child. If you're not serious with me, no thank you. Because then it's not just about me anymore. I'm having to think twice, 3-4 times. Do I really want to be with this person? How are they going to be like with my daughter? Would we be would they get along? Would he treat my child like his own child? Because I'm not coming to a house of you. It's your child. No. This is going to be a household. Exactly. This is going to be a household. This is our home. So I'm thinking about 1, 2, 3, 10 steps ahead before we even start going anywhere else. So it's not working on the first step here. We ain't going nowhere. That's it.
Because I feel like sometimes things can switch as well. Like especially like as you women, like you've set yourself up, like you're all patterned up, like you know you've got your career, you've got your money coming in, and then it's like vice versa for the man. So you kind of have to compromise. And sometimes if you have like your children or you've got your child, at first they can be like, oh yeah, I can accept you, and then something happens and it's like it becomes your children, or if they come moving in with you, it's my house. It's like how, I don't know, I feel like sometimes we could be at our own detriment as well, like even being single for so long. And like building up certain characteristics. It's like, how do we...
No, it's good. I feel like we have to be self-aware. We do, and we have to, like, even when you was talking, I was just thinking also, like, what can we have to be aware about what we are able to offer? Do you get myself? We have to be really, like, realistic with what we are able to offer in the relationship. You also have to remember, it's literally like, it's not just, because I think sometimes as women, maybe even just as humans, sometimes when we get into a relationship, we always think about what the other person is going to bring to me and my environment, but you also have to think about what you're bringing to that environment as well. And that could even just look like, what are you like when you're upset?
Yeah.
How do you respond? How do you
Exactly.
speak when you are upset? Do you get what I'm
Exactly.
saying? And you have to be able to like refine that and change that.
Yeah.
You have to be aware.
I always like to see it as like, what's the experience that you get?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
They say that.
It's like when people come into your space,
Yeah.
in your
What are they
life,
experiencing?
What is the experience that they have?
Yeah.
I think it'd be a good thing to ask your, you know, like your close friends. It's like, so
Yes.
what am I like?
What am I like?
You know, because I think we need mirrors in life. Because sometimes you think
Yeah.
you're perfect, and yet, you know, you're like, our friends, like, we are your friend, but we just have to tolerate you because we're your friends.
No, it's true. Sometimes I'll be thinking I'm perfect. No, it's true.
Because it's like, I tell you, it's like, I know my friends. I know this one, this is how they are, this one is that.
Yeah.
And I just take my
You
friends
do
the way they
tolerate. You tolerate us a lot. Sometimes I have to be like, Talia, was I rude? Please, I'm sorry.
But I'm just so used because I
Yeah.
know how my friends are, so I relate to my friends the way they are. So it takes. I don't think I've ever been angry with anyone. No, because I tend to
Maybe
just.
me, but you do hold your peace. Though.
But that's what I say. It's like
you
I'll
hold
hold
your
my
peace.
peace. I won't say exactly what I want to say.
And I know when she's upset.
But it's like, God, give me grace. But you know your person. So, but then it's like one of those things where sometimes you need a mirror to be, you know, just to ask
100%.
to people. It's like, what am I like? Am I short-tempered? Am I what's it called?
Am I rude?
Am I? Sometimes I think it's nice to have
You
those
can
type of
repel
conversations.
people,
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you have to be open to receive it.
Yeah.
Oh,
You can
true.
be in friendships
That's
where
exactly
you're
what it
treading like on glass. Like
Yeah.
you don't
Can I
wanna,
say
like,
this?
say
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of
A lot of people are
friendships?
not ready to hear the truth.
Yeah.
Like this trend that's going around, I accept the truth and I take it wherever. God, there's a line.
Yeah.
I'll say, oh, you know, the other day when I said this to you, you didn't respond. I didn't like the way you responded. And you
Yeah.
should say, I accept the truth and I'll believe it.
Yeah.
And then you move on. It's going on TikTok.
Okay.
Oh.
And a lot of couple are fighting
Because
about
it's,
that.
like, it's hard to
Because
be
it's the truth. Yeah, you're asking for the truth, but
Yeah.
are you ready to receive that?
Yeah, but also like there's a nice, like not a nice way, but I feel like you can still be kind. Like, because we're all, you don't have to afflict a person just because, all in the name of just saying I'm speaking the truth. Do you know what I mean? There's a way that you can actually like speak to people. We're all mature adults. Do you get what I mean?
It's not
She's
what
not
you
your
say,
child.
It's how you,
It's how you say it.
Yeah, it's how you say
We
it.
can all have a mature conversation. Your friend might be upset. And if you're the person that's also going to tell them this truth, you should also know that there could be a what if.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to share something that's going to be difficult to hear.
Yeah.
So I should expect that there's going to be a negative response or some emotions.
Yeah.
Not and so you can also prepare yourself when the person's emotional. You now start getting angry.
Exactly.
It takes maturity and grace. Let's give each other grace to
That's
kind of
it.
like have these difficult conversations.
That's true. I think I remember one of my friends, her daughter was autistic, but she did not know that her daughter was autistic.
Oh, wow.
So then, of course, we used to come over to each other's houses. Our daughters are literally 10 weeks apart. So the girls kind of grew up together. Then there's certain things you'll notice, I'm like, but the child is not doing that. But then, of course, we parent very differently. I'm the parent that says, you're eating your breakfast sitting on that table. I have no child running, I'm sorry, you're not running around in all of this nonsense. No, thank you. You might do that in your house, that's you. But in my house, you sit down, we
Did you know
eat.
she was autistic?
At the time.
I didn't know at the time. So it's just as observing. Now, you know, when because the girls were growing together, you start observing certain things. I'm like, you would go in, my friend would probably, she would feed her child, right? So there's TV, she'll give her a spoon and then she'll run off and then she'll go and stand in front of the television. And then she'll come back and then she'll call and say, feed it again. And I'm thinking,
Imagine how you like.
inside me, I'm just like, why is the child not just sitting on the table? Sit on the table, eat and finish, then go and enjoy your television. But then, as I said, as things are going on, because we do things very differently as parents, you know. Then later on, the other things anyway, that kind of was, you know, for me, I was like, oh, I think maybe something's not quite right. And then I say to her, I was like, I think your daughter might be autistic. So she didn't really say anything. She didn't say anything. She just looked at me. And then the next thing, she called one of her friends. And then she said, oh, by the way, Natalia just thought my daughter is autistic. And then the lady, she's a teacher, the other friend, she was like, well, actually, I've been meaning to tell you that, but I did not know how to tell you. Because then it's like one of those things, you don't know the type of truth. You don't know how someone will handle it. But then I'm thinking, because we've been friends for a very long time, I thought if I say something to you, you might take it lightly, but then sometimes it hurts more anyway when your friend tells you something anyway.
Yeah,
because
it does.
you just don't know how to You just don't know how to take things. And especially like that, it's not just a light thing.
It's not a light thing.
It's a life-altering situation where you're now starting thinking a whole lot more other things on top of that, and just thinking, you know, so sometimes
we want grace to give, but we should also give grace to receive.
Exactly.
That's just that.
It's like a change of situation. You don't know how to react. Because like I think all four of us, we can be told exactly the same thing. And we take it very, exactly, we can take it. You could just sit there and be frozen. And that's it. And someone else will be like, okay, fine, let's go. Someone else, what can we do? What can we do? So it all depends on how we take on a situation. Because sometimes it's just the way we are built, isn't it? Like how we deal with the hard situations.
Sometimes I would even like reason like, why did you bring this information to me? Because sometimes, like not with like a circumstance like this, I think that is
like
very
just
but sometimes I feel like, is this coming from a place of love, or are you just judgment? Are you using this to like, you know, like because it's irritating you, or is it because, no girl, you need to change this flaw, because if not, it will be to your detriment. So I think sometimes we even need to challenge, because I know I do. Why do I want to come and tell you that the way you do X, Y, X, Y, Z is a problem? Like, why is it a problem? Is it going to affect her? Do you think it will affect them in the future, in their relationships and stuff like that? So I think it's also important to challenge the why. And I think that will help you navigate on how you communicate these things.
Because sometimes in those circumstances, it's like the friend reveals how they truly
feel about you.
That's when you see, you're like, right, all this is coming out now.
It feels like ammunition, innit? When they come, it's like pop, pop, pop.
And I thought we were friends all this time.
It's better for a person to come and tell you straight away than maybe like if you hear it from someone else gossiping about it. That's like more irritating. I know there was a friend of mine that we went to college together actually. She's Nigerian, but when she comes to my parents' house in London, the door is open for her. But we know each other for a long time. She was the only one who literally was standing up to me. Because I used to be very stubborn. And if you tell me something, no, it's right. And then she was like, no, you're wrong. And then we lived 2 days without talking. And then the third day, I'll just be like, hey, you were right. My sister tell me about that. And then we're still friends up to now.
But that's good friendship, isn't it? Exactly. That's good friendship when you have that friendship.
Which means that when you have a person who comes straightforward to tell you something, you need to appreciate that person.
That's maturity.
Exactly, I was about to say.
Like a lot of this is like down to maturity, because boy, not everybody will be able to like receive.
It's just mental, but
So guys, this is the end of this episode. Beautiful discussion. Beautiful discussion.
Stories of life.
I know. There's been laughter, there's been tears, there's been like so much things, but make sure you stay tuned, and there's definitely going to be more. Bye.
Bye-bye.